The new import dialog in FileMaker 18 solves 5 major issues. The first one is the big one. It's that tedious drag and drop field mapping. If you have a table with a lot of fields, and I've done this before, it's not all the time. Sometimes that dialog, the old dialog, works perfectly fine because you have a handful of fields that you're trying to import. But if you have a lot of fields, say 100 or 200, and this especially happens when you have legacy systems or flat files that people have created, you have to drag sometimes all the way from the bottom. So you scroll all the way down through a couple hundred fields, and then you drag all the way up and put that field where it's supposed to be. And then it swaps it with the field that was there before, and it goes down in that same place. So most likely that field that was there, you also want to import into it. So you go down to it, you scroll down, you drag up, and you do this over and over again. It's kind of like the white pages of a telephone book, if you're young enough to remember that. They had these tiny little phone numbers and names there, and you had to look through them to see where you're going, and you go up and down through it, and you spend a lot of time trying to find the phone number you're looking for. Luckily these days, we have electronics and it makes it much easier, but back then, well, this is what I would draw an analogy to of the old import dialog. They've also added the ability to toggle the auto enter at a field level. Before 18, you'd have to either turn it on or off. Either you auto-entered or you didn't auto-enter on import. Now you can specify at the field level and have one field import with auto-enter options on and another one with them off. And this is great because a lot of times what people had to do is do 2 imports. One with the auto-enter on and one with it off. So they'd do all the data in the first import, and then they do a replace over the existing data, but then auto-enter what they wanted. Only import the fields that they actually wanted to auto-enter, and then replace that data. So if you had a large table you're trying to import, it could take twice as long as it had to. You can also now specify custom header information that shouldn't be imported. Now you could do that before with field labels, such as you'd have on an Excel document, but if there's any other header information, any other rows that were filled with data, then you'd have to go ahead and tell the person, well, you got to make it look exactly the way FileMaker wants it. Now you can specify as many of those rows you want to be custom information and not to import it. They've spent a lot of time on this import dialog also, so in general, it's much easier to use. And they even added custom field separators, so you can import based on pipes or semicolons or whatever the government decides to throw at us with their ancient methodologies, their ancient data import formats. So let's show you what this looks like, because the import dialog hasn't been overhauled in, well, ever, right? It's always been the same since I started using FileMaker 2.0. So we want to take a look at what it can do now and go over it very carefully to see how well it's been redesigned. It may not be perfect for everybody, but it's a lot better than it was before. So we're going to create a contact template, put it on the desktop, and then immediately go to import. We'll import a file. I'm going to choose to import a FileMaker file. But realize here you have the ability to specify custom separated values. One of the predefined ones, or whatever you want to type in there as a separator. Pretty cool stuff. But we're going to start with a FileMaker file. We'll locate this one and then open it. And the first thing it does, it's only the first time you launch FileMaker 18. If you close it and open again, this will appear. But if you do several imports in a single launch of FileMaker, you won't see this pop up here. I think the reason they do it is because it's not clear that you can click on that. So they make sure the first time you do it, you go, oh, that's there, okay. And this is where you get some great redesign of this dialog. You see add, update, replace. There's definitions. I'm not so sure about all the pictures here that they help you, but on the wording, you've got some definitions here that really help you out on what to do. Then you'll also see over here that you have icons representing the type of file. That's kind of nifty because it tells you whether it's a FileMaker file or an Excel file. Maybe you didn't realize it or forgot, or it's just kind of a nice feedback. And of course you have, this is always there, your new table and what a table you want to go and import into. This is the same, matching names and things like that. You still can go through the data here. We can't use this yet because it's a FileMaker file, so we'll show this when we import in Excel. And you've of course got all your options down here. Now here's your import options, right? We have auto enter, so that's what you had before FileMaker 18. And you can turn it on and off. It's either on or off. There's no in between. But we'll show you how to do it in a second. Now, these this feature, this repeating fields feature, as well as the auto enter, used to be in a dialog after the screen. I like how they put it into one dialog. It really helps you to get everything set up so you don't have to have, a series of dialogue to ask you a bunch of questions. So let's see how we map fields here. It's really quite easy. You come in here and you go, okay, I want to map, let's say, the last name over here, and you choose it, and it goes right in there and it chooses to import. Now that's obviously not correct. Let's change it to the correct field, first name, and it puts it right in there. Very easy to do. We don't even have to type in a filter. We can just come down and find what field we want and choose last name. We can even come over here and choose one of the auto enter fields. And you see that we have an option to turn it on and off. It turns gray when we turn it off. Very easy. Now this really should be the website here, so we'll set that up. Pretty easy stuff to do. It's really easy to understand this dialog. It goes from left to right, top to bottom. It's very easy to work with. And let's go ahead and try importing this, and let's do an Excel document so we can show you a few more features. Okay, you get the same dialog here. We'll go into our FileMaker, Import Records, choose that Excel document, so we'll choose All Available. Open it. And one of the things you'll notice is this is an Excel document, but at least you see that it's not a FileMaker document, and you can actually specify the delimiters if it happened to be a text file after you've started the import, so you can change it. This is kind of nice in case it's, it's kind of that, if you forgot to do it at the beginning, you can still do it now. And you can see there's a different icon here, but you can also see that we can go through this data, and you see how we have uses field names, uses data. You can do anything you want here. Right? You can do some cool stuff. You can also exclude if you need to. Very cool stuff that you can do here. You have the auto enter option here. Of course, you don't have those auto enter. If we put that, you still have that availability to do it here if you want to. So all these features are available and allow you to very easily do an import. It's not a chore anymore. I can remember sitting there hours with this import dialog. I remember sitting there and working with it and cursing it and wishing it wasn't the way it was. And now I think that it's at least 90% there. There might be a few tweaks here and there that we can add. So, but I think they've done a great job on this dialog, and I hope that you enjoy it. And this would be one reason, this one feature alone, just to go to FileMaker 18.